sales is so life-changing, people think it's icky, but I've been able to do so much more as a person because I have the confidence that I can sell. I never have to stay in, like, a bad situation. I never have to put up with anyone's BS because I know how to sell, and I think as a woman, it's the best skill you could have.
Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, a podcast helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses online to create more time, more money, more freedom, and more impact. Now, with over 20 years of business building, coaching, and consulting experience, here's your host, author, speaker, and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsey Anderson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show. We have a very special guest expert on today, Miss Ro Shah. Now, Ro has helped over 100 money coaches, bookkeepers, and accountants make their first sale and grow their businesses by learning sales strategies to book out. As an agency owner who has managed teams of 10 plus, she understands the value of growing fast and keeping your sanity at the same time. Welcome to the show, Ro. So glad to have you on today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad to talk and be on.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're known for?
I have a background in sales and I graduated with a master's in systems. So when I got into entrepreneurship, I combined those two things. And now I help a lot of my clients with sales systems, pretty much automated sales. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you're known for automated sales and systems. Can you expound just for those individuals, like you said, automated sales, but then you're talking about systems? Can you make a difference there?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. So when it comes to systems, I talk about, like you said in the intro, I manage a team of 10 contractors when I was running an agency. And when you don't have a system in place, every time you lose a client or every time you have to let someone go or hire someone, if you don't have the operation, like you don't have a standard operating procedure where it's like a recipe for hiring, firing, letting people go, having new clients, then it's going to be hard to keep your sanity. And then in terms of automated sales, that's all the techie stuff. So, for example, ManyChat is really popular right now. People see it all the time all over social media, but it's, do you know how to use the tech? Or are you spending thousands of dollars on this fancy tech that you see all the influencers using and you're like, you don't know how to use it, but you spent so much money on Kajabi or things that cost you $200 a month. So it's understanding the tech and then understanding the operations behind your business.
Yeah, and that really is that you don't have to be rethinking every time a customer cancels, rethinking, what do I do now? You simply have already done all the thinking and it's documented and you just follow the steps, or you have a VA who can follow the steps. And this is really how you find ease in your business.
100%. Yeah. I think so many times entrepreneurs get caught up in like the fanciness and they stray away from the basics of just what works.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I find that your expertise, like your expertise in both systems and sales, I feel like those are the two major places that most small business owners, when they're scaling their business, they tend to ignore or not focus on. They don't want to do sales, so they hide behind marketing. And it really is the key is systems and sales.
I laugh because I literally just got off a call with someone and they were like, I hate sales. So I'm just posting on Instagram. But I'm like, have you made any money? And they say no. So exactly what you just said, a lot of people will hide behind content on social media because they don't want to go out there and actually pitch or sell their service. So they're barely making any money.
Barely making any money. They're not doing any sales, and so they don't know even who they're talking to on social media, so they're really just guessing and not creating a high quality audience. So, well, what I really like about you and why one of the reasons why I'm having you on the show is I know we agree on sales being a skill set that you can actually pick up and learn. Can you speak to us a little bit about that?
Yes, I heard this in your other episodes too of like how sales is so life-changing. People think it's icky, but I've been able to do so much more as a person because I have the confidence that I can sell. I never have to stay in like a bad situation. I never have to put up with anyone's BS because I know how to sell. And I think as a woman, it's the best skill you could have. Sales is truly life-changing. Like you never have to be in a situation you don't want to be in. Like you have the confidence to do whatever you want. I think everyone needs to learn sales, even if you're a 9 to 5 or you're an entrepreneur, it can help you in every asset of your life.
I agree. Yeah, I like to say that behind loving sales is the answer to all of your business problems because
I
you're
agree.
talking to your customers and you're in there and it's one-on-one combat. And I agree, like it will help you be a better mother, it will help you be a better spouse because it really is just about clear communication.
Yeah, and I even thought of when I was still at my 9 to 5, how I it was a very racist workplace, and I was like, I couldn't leave because I didn't know how to make more money, but once I learned sales, I was like, I don't have to put up with anything like this anymore. So, yeah, it can make you such a better person as an individual, but it also boosts your confidence in ways that you never expected, and getting out of like, really stepping into your own.
Yeah, so can you share just a little bit more around that story? It sounds like you had a 9 to 5 job,
Yeah.
you learned sales. What was tell me a little bit more about this pivotal moment for you where you learned to love sales.
I think going back to I think I was just really fed up with life. I remember being 18 and I worked my first like big girl job. I was working in New York City, working for this like luxury retailer, and it was just draining. I was like, I cannot sit at this desk until I'm 65. I'm going to go crazy. And then fast forward, I graduated undergrad and ended up at a really interesting workplace. There were a lot of microaggressions going on, but I couldn't leave. I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money to retire and live my life? And there was this one instance that really, I think female rage is so important because when you get really mad, you are going to be most susceptible to change. But there was this instance where I was with in a room full of male coworkers and we were talking about retirement and investing. And they were giving all this crazy advice that about how like credit cards are bad and you should never like do certain things. A lot of typical advice that just didn't apply to me. And I started telling them what I was doing, like what generations of my family have done for us to be financially successful. And they basically just laughed in my face. And I was just like, I was so mad. I remember like getting out of that common room where all my coworkers were. And I was like, I was pissed off because I couldn't quote Dave Ramsey. I couldn't quote like my aunt who like didn't write any books, hasn't been on any TV shows, but all these men in the room could quote all these authors that they read, all these people on TV that they watch. And I'm like, where are all the people that look like me? And that's what pissed me off enough to start this business that I have right now because I wanted to help more entrepreneurs, more women entrepreneurs get into be like the top of the industry so they could write books. They can be on TV. I can quote them if I'm ever in a room of like white guys again telling me what's wrong and what's right about finances.
Yeah, I heard this stat once, which is on the New York Times bestsellers list, there are more men named John than women.
Exactly.
What you're getting at is that you want to be able to represent women and show this voice.
100%. And I think a lot of times you start a business when you're sick of something or you're angry or there is a pivotal moment. And that was like the seed that got planted for me to make a change, like seriously make a change.
Makes sense. So fast forward to now, tell me a little bit about how you service your clients. Now you work mostly with the women in the financial industry. Do you have coaching programs? What does that look like? How do you help them make more money in their business?
Yeah, so I am a sales and systems coach. So, like you mentioned before, I did run an agency that had 10 contractors. And what I noticed is so many people would use our strategies and then get booked out. And then they didn't need us anymore, and that was fine. But then what I noticed is that they would lose all this momentum or they didn't know how to scale. And I was like, all right, they're hitting the glass ceiling of where to go. And that's when I transitioned into coaching because they needed more support. But it's not, they needed more support in terms of outside of done for you work. And that's really when I started my coaching business. I was an agency for about 2 years and then I transitioned into coaching because I saw such a need from all my clients and they didn't know where else to go. But the coaching industry is really interesting because I see a lot of people just getting into the industry without having too much experience on building their own business first.
Yeah. And so how have you handled that? Can you share more about that?
I think, well, what do you mean? How have I handled?
You bring up the point of there's a lot the coaching industry is interesting because there's a lot of people who are coming on who don't have that experience. Like, how is that? What is the relevance of that to what you're trying to build here?
I think most importantly is you can't take advice from someone that hasn't done something you wanted to,
True.
right? So if you go to someone and they're promising you like $100,000 in sales, has that person even hit $100,000 in sales or are they using you to get there?
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah, a lot.
I
Yeah.
think I've invested in a lot of programs and I've been very lucky because all the people I've invested in have done what they say they've done. And I've been able to always make my return on investment. But I see a lot of times people get into the industry or they go viral or they blow up and they just don't have the experience to help other people yet. And that's
You
basically
gotta
what I'm
watch
saying
out
is
for that.
do your research. You have to do
Yeah, you
your
gotta watch
research.
out for that. Ask questions, get referrals, those kind of things. Yeah, because
Yes.
it's like marketing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
marketing. Yeah. Okay, you mentioned people building their business. They reach like this ceiling where they can't get past it. They feel very stuck. Can you share with us what are some common obstacles that these people typically have at this stage in their business? And what do they need to do to get over these obstacles, if you were to name a few?
Oh man, I would say hiring. I think we have all come across this issue where it's you're so busy and you're making money, but you're plateauing, but you don't want to hire because you're not making enough money to hire yet. So it's this catch 22. And I was just working on this with a client. She's stuck at like the $30,000 a year and she has a very intense 9 to 5. And I'm like, you need to hire. There's no way you could fit more time into your schedule unless you hire or automate. So now we're working on that whole plan. But I think that is you have to think like, where are you the bottleneck in your business? And if you're the one that's in charge of all your sales calls and in charge of all your marketing and in charge of all your clients, you either need to automate if you can't hire a VA or you need to figure out how you can make every hire earn you money. I think that's the biggest issue I see people have. They have a really bad experience with the hire and then they're so traumatized from hiring again because that person didn't add to their bottom line.
And so hiring or systemizing are the two answers because a lot of people are just like spending too much time in their business and not ever making any forward momentum. And so hiring or systemizing is the answer to getting past that.
I would say it's nuanced for I don't wanna give, like, a cut and paste answer, it's different for everyone, but yeah, usually, if you're making sales and you're not making more sales, then you need to hire. If you haven't made a single sale, then you probably need a mentor. So it
Yeah.
depends on what your big issue is, and then you hire a mentor, you hire a VA, or you need to automate.
Okay. So if I am like, say, I'm stuck at a certain point in my business, maybe I'm stuck at 500K and I'm stuck there. What are some things that I can start doing today to automate or to systemize this? What's your advice? What can I do today?
That's a really good question. I was just working with a bakery and they're at 1,000,000 and they're based in Chicago, Brown Sugar Bakeries. I really love them if you're in the Chicago area, but they have already hit like such a high revenue ceiling, but nothing was automated when I started working with them. So for example, it's just the foundational things. You would think it's like this big life-changing like strategy, but for them it was like, can you reach out to the 50,000 email subs that you have that you never replied back to after they bought your cake from your bakery. So, it's the simple stuff going back to basics, like, what haven't you done? Where are the gaps? Very especially if you're at 500,000, is everyone on your team contributing to making sales at some level? What haven't you been implementing? Like, the basics of have you used email? Have you used social media? It's not something new. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Agree. Okay. So let's talk about the future of an online business, selling your expertise online. What do you see in the future?
Wow, that's a really good question. Selling your expertise online, I don't think it's going to go away. I think people are just going to be way more suspicious. And like you said, coaching, people aren't hiring their first coach anymore. They might be hiring their third, fourth, fifth mentor. So people are not as bright eyed anymore about the coaching industry. So that's like what we just talked about. You need to look up the referrals, you need to look up the testimonials. Did the person you're about to hire do what you wanted? But I think consumers now are just more aware of what they're buying, and they're just more suspicious, and they have every right to be because the industry is growing so fast.
And what's your answer to that?
Like, how to make yourself stand out? As someone who's also hired tons of mentors and coaches, the first thing I look at, no matter what I do, if I get sucked into their funnel, is I look at their testimonials and their results. I go into a rabbit hole. Is this person real? Is this name real? Is this, like, Instagram account real? And I usually will follow them for a while and see if there's anything that doesn't line up.
What would your advice be for an entrepreneur, a business owner, knowing that people don't intrinsically trust us? Like how do we handle that? Being in a sales perspective.
Oh man, I feel like My answer sounds so basic, but it's just provide literal value, right? Like you can do as much education as you want, but if the value that you're providing doesn't get someone like an immediate result, then why would they trust you? So for
Yeah.
example, I see a ton I see people posting like this is what you need to do to go viral, but has it actually given someone that result? Or even from your free content, have you been able to literally provide the result that you're selling? I think for a lot of people, it's no. A lot of people just spit out free advice just to spit out free advice, and it's just not giving the people watching you a result.
I can see that. Do you have experience with AI or like how that's going to affect online business?
Yeah, I actually just made a video about AI automation on my YouTube channel. So with AI, I actually think we talked about hiring a VA, but soon you won't even need to hire one because a lot of what AI can do, if you use Zapier or Airtable, I love those softwares. They're free to use. You can just type in what you want to do. So can you write my welcome onboarding email every time someone pays me through QuickBooks? AI can do that for you. I just made the YouTube video about it. Or can you send like a client gift from flowers.com? AI can do that. They can at least add the task to your Google Calendar. Every time a client works with me, I get a little task being like, send them flowers on my Google Calendar. So I know to do that, or my VA knows what to do.
So using AI to automate all this stuff is going to be really useful as we go in the future, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
think you should start learning it even if I work with older clients too, people in their 60s and 70s, and you can learn it too, no matter what age you're at.
Yeah, it is pretty simple. Even if we talk about just ChatGPT, which is a powerful piece of software, like it's one box. You just like type into it and ask some questions.
It's imagine you have like you have an assistant that's literally in your living room and you're like, "Can you go get me a bottle of water?" Just act like AI is that assistant in your living room. Can you go send that client an onboarding email? Same
Yeah.
thing.
I
Yeah.
love I love that. Okay. So here you are, Ro. It's 2024. You have a successful business. You help tons of people. What is one thing that you wish you would have known before you started this business?
That's a good question. What I wish I knew before I started my business, hire let me put it this way. I read every single book at Barnes& and Noble about entrepreneurship. If
Okay.
I sometimes I walk by the bookstores that talk about entrepreneurship or business building, and I smile because I have read most of them. And I wish someone would just put like a sticky note across that section and be like, if you read like 50% of these, it's time for you to go pay someone to literally implement. Because I was just binging all these books from libraries, from like bookstores. And no one literally told me I needed to go spend money to acquire mentorship. I like loved YouTube. I loved all the freebies. I binged it all the time. I binged it for 5 years before I really started the business I have now. But if someone said, hey, you need to save a little bit to just hire someone that's done it before, that would have saved me so much heartache. Because I have a graveyard full of Instagram accounts. I have a graveyard of failed businesses because I was just trying to do everything through freebies.
Instead of just getting the straight answers. Like I always like to say, business is a game and you just have to learn the rules and then you will understand how to play it. But somebody has to tell you though, they're not intrinsically like you're not going to figure them out. This is why we have MBAs and people who have built businesses before you. So just follow the steps. But you have to get the steps and understand the rules in order to actually play. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and the books that you can find online do tell you the steps, but it's like when you put your money where your mouth is, you are more motivated to show up in different
So true.
ways, right? A book can tell you, "Oh, go do this." Are you really going to go do it? You just paid $20 for this book versus someone you paid maybe like a good portion of your paycheck to. You got to show up differently than a book that you paid $20 for.
So true. Awesome. Thank you, Ro. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise on today's episode. Before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Let the audience know how to find you and anything else you want them to know.
Yeah, of course. We talked about so many amazing things during this episode, but if you're interested in anything about AI or automation, I definitely recommend checking out my YouTube channel. I see so many really interesting tech tutorials, but if you want to look at how a woman in tech is doing it, definitely check out my YouTube channel. And then if you are interested in learning about sales and automations, we have a free email challenge. So it will talk you through how to automate your business to make more sales. So you can
And
find either of
no.
that. Yeah, you can find either of that on my website. All my channels, everything is linked at theroshah.com or you could go to my Instagram, TheRoShah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ro, for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to The Millionaire Maker Show with online business consultant and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsey Anderson. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.